I'm gonna probably have to cut out the first part. Oh, what the okay, stop doing that. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you for tuning in to episode, should I even stop naming the episode? Okay, yeah, thank you for tuning in to this, beautiful new episode. This week we got a, I call him, well, I don't call him anything, where they don't have a nickname. Well, if I were to give him a nickname, it'd probably be, the White Stealth Panda. White Stealth Panda. Come on, why not, dude? White Stealth Panda? That's a freaking great nickname. Are you kidding me?
I don't like it.
Alright, Jed, what do you want to give yourself? Okay, let me just introduce you by your real name. His name is Jed Christian. Wait, is your middle name Christian?
No.
Jed. Wait, what was your middle name, dude? It was super weird. I know it's hella white. Okay, Jed Johnston is his name.
That's not even really my name, technically.
Oh, wait, is it Jedediah?
Joseph.
Oh, that's right. It's fucking Joseph. It's Joseph Abraham Johnston?
Yep. Joseph Edward. That's where the
Joseph Edward. The freaking whitest name that you can possibly think of in today's history of white people. He's it, dude. This is it. White.
I don't know that that's the whitest.
Okay, what's the whitest that you've ever heard of?
I mean, I don't know. Like, Carl is pretty white, I'd have to say.
Carl? Are you sure?
Yeah. Carl is extremely white.
I don't know, man. Okay, I'm fine. Carl's pretty white. What about
How about this?
What about Abe? What about like what the hell is the other one? Joe. Joe's definitely the whitest name I've ever heard of. I've never seen like a black Joe or like an Asian Joe. That's never happened before. At least in my
that's not accurate. That's because Joe is just an abbreviation of Joseph, which is one of the most common names in the world.
Okay, then how the fuck did you get Jed out of Joseph then?
I don't know. I didn't come up with it, bro. Like,
okay, you can't make the case for both. All right, I'm just saying. Okay, then what about like Mark?
Mark's very white. I thought of one. I know a person who is one of the whitest people I know. His name's Josiah. Now that's the whitest name I've ever heard.
Josiah?
Yeah.
Okay, Josiah.
That's some biblical shit, right?
Yeah. I mean, all the biblical names. But that's the thing, like, you know, biblical names are shared between, like, even most black people or Koreans or China. You know, whatever, wherever the Christian religion has gone and spread itself. Anyways, all right, let's get to the real chunk of this. God damn it. So Jed and I, let me give you a little bit of background. So Joseph. I can't remember her middle name anymore. Fuck it. Anyways, Jed and I met in high school. I came to, if you know Midland, we met in Midland, Texas. We went to the same school named Trinity School of Midland. Very, definitely ripped you off for your money for sure. I mean, you know, but it was a good school. I loved it. I met a lot of good friends there. Yeah, it was a good time for sure. Yeah, and I think we met, in junior year?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was junior year.
We didn't really become friends until, baseball senior year.
Yeah. I think that we would see each other, we'd talk to each other, but yeah, you're right. We didn't become, close until we both started playing baseball together. By the way, Jed has a mean arm. I don't know if do you still play baseball, Jed, or do you pitch?
No, I would, throw out my shoulder in 5 seconds.
Yeah, but yeah, he was a great pitcher. I think that on the team, you definitely had. Did you have I mean, you were one of the most consistent pitchers for sure, but you also had the most varying pitches. You definitely had the most pitches under your belt. There's no doubt about that. I don't think anybody could ever throw a variation of pitches more than you did. If I remember correctly.
But by our senior year, that team was just garbage. There was no other good players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I had come in, I had hit before. I played a little bit of baseball growing up, but for me, it was one of those things. I was like, God, I gotta do something, you know.
And we almost didn't have a team. Like, I had to convince you and several others to join so that we could even have enough to have a team.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was sad, because, like, before you got there, like, our freshman year, we won the state championship in baseball.
I'd heard about that, and that's the reason why I was like, dude, I just want to go and I just want to see how I can hit. That's the thing, like, I feel like I could throw a fastball, like, in comparison, I didn't have accuracy. That was it. Like, I remember the coach, who's the coach again? Who was the one that dipped?
Not LaFarelle, but Midkiff.
Yeah,
Midkiff and LaFarelle.
Yeah, Midkiff. Wait, Midkiff? Is that it? I can't remember his name, dude. He was chubbier, Michael, he was in the Army. Yeah.
Michael Midkiff.
Yeah, Michael, Midkiff. Yeah, dude, that guy, he was like, Karn, you got a mean arm. I just don't think that you've ever practiced pitching, have you? I was like, nope. I just, like, I can throw a ball fast, I can throw far, and that's literally about it. And he's like, all right, sounds good. Yeah, man. By the way, have you parked? Are you good to go?
Yeah, no, I'm good to go.
All right, gang. So a little bit of background on Jed. He is also a economics. You did your bachelor's in economics, correct?
That's right.
And now he is attending law school. He's in his. Are you in your second year, third year?
Third year, third and last.
Third and last year. How's everything going with that?
I mean, it's going all right. Just trying to finish up strong. I'm going to end up getting a concentration in real estate law, which is kind of cool.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So.
Bro, this is actually very crazy. This last weekend, so my family and I have a cousin who lives in Canada, and he's actually coming down, and he's going to start, because he built houses up there, and there's no jobs right now in Edmonton, and so he's trying to come here and hit the housing market. But anyways, so my family decided that I'm going to start pursuing a real estate license. So, yeah. To all your local Seattleites out there, I'm about to be on that freaking, I could see that list of houses that are on and off the market. And if you want something, you let your boy know. God, did I just do my first advertisement and it was free? Hell yeah, dude.
That's how it works. Gotta get the synergies going there, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm gonna be doing that very soon. It's kind of nerve-wracking. I think I was looking up, like, getting a realty license in Washington takes, like, 60 hours of some courses, and I can't remember what else. I don't think there's a test. They didn't say there was a test, at least.
I don't know.
How is it in Texas?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to be a real estate agent or anything. I'm just, I'm getting that kind of concentration. I'm only going to take one actual real estate course in all of law school. But,
wait, you only took one course to get a minor?
Well, I have to take a bunch of other courses, but they're not really real estate. Like, I'm getting credit for taking environmental law, land use planning, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Counts towards the concentration. And so the reason I'm going to use it is if I end up doing oil and gas type stuff, a lot of that deals with contracts, leases, easements, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's boring as shit, really, but yeah.
I imagine a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be fairly boring today.
Yeah. By the way, this is going to be, like you mentioned, this is going to be a very informative episode, because I'm going to be tackling his brain on current economics and current political tides and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if you just want to learn more about certain topics, related to politics, how the world's going on, yeah, dude, please stick through. We got a professional here. By the way, the next episode is also going to be informative, as one of my friends saw my episode 2, where we were talking about flu shots, vaccines, and all that jargon. So yeah, me and her we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna learn more about it. That's just how it's gonna be, dude. It's gonna be great. Yeah. By the way, I wanted to ask you, Jed, how many different types of law are provided, like, as a degree at your school?
I mean, in terms of, like, concentration?
Yeah, concentration. Sorry, that's a better word. Yeah. How many different concentrations of law are there?
I mean, I think there's only like 4 or 5 that are officially listed as concentrations, and real estate law isn't even one of them. But you can also kind of work with a professor to create your own concentration in whatever area you think you're going to go in.
So it's kind of like mechanical engineering. Like you have your basic, like you have your civil, mechanical, your computer, electrical, and then within those there are even like deeper concentrations. So does it kind of work like that in law as well?
Yeah, I think definitely it kind of works like that. And one of the things that makes it have to kind of work like that is that no matter what, like, you're going to do in your legal profession, you have to know a little bit about everything to pass the bar exam.
Well, of course,
So,
yeah.
So, like, my final semester, I'm going to be taking a bunch of courses that I have zero interest in, just so that I can kind of learn stuff to be able to pass the bar.
Yeah, I think that kind of works with. It's kind of similar. I mean, even in the engineering exam, you still have the what's it called, the fundamental engineering exam. So it's the FE exam, and that's like you don't have to pass that in order to be an engineer, but it's sort of like a lot of companies.
It looks a lot better on your resume.
It looks a lot better on your resume, and not only that, but like it's especially important for civil engineers because then they have to get their PE license, so their professional engineer's license. And in order to even be, I think that's the thing. Like these tests for, well, at least for engineers, taking the FE and then later on taking your PE exam, your professional engineer's exam, is sort of like because you're dealing with a lot of people and you have to stamp a bunch of crap, and they're held to a bigger liability, at least more than mechanicals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's sort of similar in that sense.
Right.
Well, yeah, but do you have to take any other tests besides the bar? Like once you're done with the bar, you're a licensed professional lawyer.
Pretty much. So before you take the bar, you have to take the professional responsibility exam, which is just an ethics exam, and I took that this last summer. And,
did you? So were you a ethical individual?
At least I met the bare minimum requirements at the very least. So technically you're barely civil, and you're barely whatever fucking you want to call it. Yeah. So like every jurisdiction requires a different score on the ethics exam, and I did meet the minimum requirements for every state. Some states I'm viewed as more ethical, probably, but.
That's the thing. That's another weird, like, because defining ethics within, like, I don't know. That's a hard place to come to, like, because ethics, like, defined by certain groups is completely different from one group of people to another group of people.
Yeah. Well, for lawyers, we do have like model rules of professional responsibility, and so it's basically an exam on those rules and just knowing what they are and how they work.
I don't know, dude. I feel like a lawyer is one of the most like keen individuals and one of the most clever. Like it could be cleverly good or cleverly bad,
And lawyers are in a position where if they are not ethical, they can ruin your life because they have access to your money, they have access to whether you're going to go to prison or whether you're going to lose custody of the kids.
That's true. I think lawyers have way too much fucking power, dude. Holy.
Well, that's why you have to go through so much to become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Because, the weirdest thing, in my opinion, is, like, because you talk about ethics, but on the other hand, a lawyer, when they're standing up for their defendant, and let's say they know that their defendant did something bad, and they know that, but you don't have a choice. You get paid, and you're paid to make this guy look innocent. Right?
Right.
And that's hard. In my opinion, that's a hard place to be. That's very hard.
Well, that's not the type of lawyer I'm going to be. I'm not going to be a criminal defense person.
Yeah, but still, like, that's the thing. Like, I could never sit there and stand up for someone that I know, because like lawyers have to give their 100 regardless of who they're defending. Right. Their entire job is to make them look good in the court of law.
Right, and it's important that that happens because otherwise the prosecutor can get away with prosecuting people who are innocent. And
true.
Our whole justice
yeah.
system is based on we'd rather have 10 guilty people go free than have one innocent person go to prison.
Yeah. It's a good place. It's definitely, in my opinion, that's a better a mind state of doing law, like justice, than any other on the planet. You know, because it's like, if I can give you an example, like in India, it's like, in America, it's you are innocent until proven guilty, right? It's the exact opposite in India. You are guilty until proven innocent, and that's so messed up because there's so many loopholes around that. Like, it's so plain and simple. Like, let's say you don't have enough evidence to show that you are innocent, especially in, like, I wouldn't say that India is as, you know, technologically advanced, so that they can't even, like, as many people in India do not have phones or cameras or any other way of gaining evidence, and it's like, you're stuck there forever. Like, I'll give you an example. There's one dude who, so he technically, like, all he said, he was just, like, standing up for a state within India, and he's like, hey, a lot of these people do not want to be a part of India, so he just started, like, you know, started a slogan of something like that. And this is a British citizen who is stuck in India, and he's been there for a year plus now, and they're still, like, holding him to this nonsense of, like, hey, you are guilty until proven innocent. Like, they just put, like, extra charges. They're like, oh, he was probably responsible for this murder and this murder or whatever, you know, like, because they can just keep throwing a bunch of crap at you.
Right.
And that's hard. That's messed up.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things where, like, you see people on kind of both sides of the political spectrum trying to, you know, bash America, like, America's awful, we need to be like all these other countries. Mm-hmm. And we forget all the things that we take for granted, like due process and the Bill of Rights and the presumption of innocence. I mean, those are huge things that we don't even think about because we've been living with them our whole lives, or at least American citizens.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing, is, like, you're completely right. No one ever and I don't even think it ever crosses their mind. I don't think they ever make that connection to where they go, like, hey, like, you know, all these problems that, like, let's say, what are the things that I'm complaining about? Let's put that into perspective. Let's do a comparison. Does, like, let's say if this type of thing were to happen in another country, how would I be treated, or how would it go down? They don't think about it like that, dude. They don't.
No, not that. Yeah.
And I don't think they're just like, I think this is just human tendency, human nature. I wouldn't call this just like a country people problem. It's just like, it's where you're sitting and where you're at. If you have problems, you always want to fix it. And sometimes, like, but that's the thing, like, most people don't even recognize, like, hey, should this be a problem? Like, should I consider this to be a problem? I don't even think they ever think about that, you know?
Yeah, and before we get to the point of wanting to, like, blow everything up and start over and move to, like, a new system of government or a new system of, like, controlling ourselves, like, we have to acknowledge all of the things that we get right.
Correct.
And then move to what we're getting wrong and how we can be better.
That's a very good point, yeah. That's it. I think you're right, dude. I think you're right. Like, if you never recognize the good, or you never appreciate the good, or see the causes or the history why we got to this point, and how can, like, you know, I don't think you can ever see the big picture like that. Because you can just sit here, and, like, let's just take example for America, right? You can just be like, oh, look at the inequality of you know, income in America overall. You can say that. But then you look at the standard of living within Americans, the average American still does a lot better than the average Indian, or average whatever you want, any other country you want to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, like, that's the crazy thing. Yeah, there is there obviously, when there's one country that outfinances every other fucking country, yeah, there's going to be a disparity and inequality of money. But on the other hand, it doesn't mean that just because there's such a big inequality, you're not getting a chunk of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can pursue so many different things. You can do so many different things in this country. I don't think you can do all this type of crap anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know, who would have thought, like, a freaking engineer also being a realtor? Like, what is that? I don't even think that's a good combination.
On top of everything else, and podcaster, and, you know, beekeeper, and everything else.
Yeah, dude, I don't think I would, like, I think about that. I think about that all the time. I don't think that I would have done any of this if I grew up in India and was raised in India. There's no way. I think that, first of all, most people would even look down on me, because there's a whole, like, a hierarchy structure, like a class system, you know? If you're, like, let's say, my parents or, like, my family members would never even let me touch beekeeping, because that's, like, oh, that's too, like, low grade, you know what I'm saying? Like, And
right, yeah.
And I remember this one time when we were just like walking by, I was like, in our own village, we were just walking by and I was just watching welding, like, someone was welding something like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so freaking cool, and then like, and I was like, Mom, can I go weld? Like, is that, they're like, no, don't, that's low level crap. Like, don't do that, And I mean, that's just inherent within the culture, but like, America's a place where like I'm being legit, like, this is the place where, like, let's say you are of a different profession or you have, like, financial, like, you guys are not as equal. But America's a place where, like, the poor and the rich, they can still be friends. And I think that's where I see the most amount of friends, And, which is cool. I mean, they're, like, the side effect being that you're more envious now, which makes sense,
And the whole idea of capitalism is that you're not going to get paid or you're not going to get appreciated in society based on, the pedigree of your profession, like specifically welding. Welders get paid better than most professions. Like, most welders make more than what lawyers make coming out of law school. Same with long-haul truck drivers and landmen. I mean, if you're working hard, typically you're going to get rewarded for it.
Correct. Like, and like, the cousin that I'm talking about who's gonna come and do, like, I would call him a pretty good tradesman. Like, his main thing was that he was a welder. He was like, he would do all types of welding, like, big pipe welding and all this little crap. But yeah, he got paid as soon as he got his 2-year technical thing that you need, like the certificate. He started making like $80K right off the bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's more than I'm making right now.
You don't have to go to school for 4 years to do it.
Nope. He's not in debt. Yeah, like, he's not in debt. Like, those classes, like, they were, I don't know if, he paid it off within the first 6 months, and all the classes that he had taken, and that was it. Like, he was just bagging $80K. But that, I think, with an education, the difference between, like, a welder, like, you can't really climb out of that wage gap. Once, wherever you start, you'll gain a little bit more, but, like, the max a welder probably can get to is like $100K if you're a really, really professional welder and you're doing some dangerous welding,
Right.
Whereas like, engineering, like, you get 10 years of experience, you're a senior level engineer, and you could, let's say you're going to any of the big puppy, let's say you get a chance to go work at the big puppy organizations or companies, then you could be bagging 200, 200K. Right. So it all varies, like, whatever your interests take. But for me, I am a total guy of like, hey, if you don't want to go to college, if you don't want to go to university, that's fine, man. If you want to go pick up a trade, that's cool. Like, go do it. And like, even with my kids, I'm going to tell them like, yo, if you want to go to college, go for it. Because I don't know, for me, college has it was one of those places where it's like, it's too brainwashed. It's too one-sided. I don't know. You just can't.
Yeah, and, I mean, we have, like, these political candidates, like Bernie Sanders wants everyone to have a free college education, which, number one, that drives down the value of a college degree. And we've already seen the value of a college degree go down. Like, used to, if you had a bachelor's degree, you could get any job you want. But now, you have to have a bachelor's degree in a very specific field, and you have to have the experience to go along with it. And then the other thing is, there's so many other options. Like, you can join the military, you can pick up a trade.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many things you can do
that
you don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
And this expectation that you have to or that you want to because, you've watched all the college movies of the drinking and partying.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what it's about. That's not what should fuel your decision.
Yeah.
Like, you got to make the decision for the right reason.
For sure. And that's the thing, and like, you brought up a good point, like, this free college thing, like, these universities have spiked. I was reading, like, a statistic where their prices, like, with tuition fees have spiked for, I think, 30 to 40%. I'm definitely gonna get this wrong or might be wrong, but within the last, like, 15 years, like, even getting, like, the average is getting to the point where it's, like, 30, well, that's like 35 to 45,000 per year for your education, which is insane. Which is so insane.
And a lot of that doesn't even go to like improving the campus's facilities or improving the faculty or making sure that they're paid more.
Yeah.
Like, that's just to accommodate more and more students getting in so that they can get, if it's a public university, so they get the tax benefits of that.
Exactly.
More students funding you get. And so the whole system, we need to take a good long look at how
Yeah, dude, and that's so fucked up. It's almost getting to the point where, like that's the thing. We already, like, for me, I see government as a very inefficient thing. How it's functioned, how it goes, the things that happen within government are so slow, so daunting, and it's crazy. And you want to give, it's like such an insane amount of money towards something that's going to be, again, inefficient and not paying well. Like, I've heard, like, some of these, like, honestly, these engineering professors, how much they're making is, like, sad. It's absolutely sad. And it kind of pisses me off. It's like, where is all this money going? Like, for God's sakes, like, I know how many people, like, if I were to just count the amount of people and the amount of cash that's coming through in one class of an engineering course, and like, I don't see why can't they just go like, hey, I'm going to get at least like 13 or 14 or 15% of how much these kids are putting out, you know? That's a fair sum. I think that's the thing. I think they need to restructure is like what percentage of the income of these students do these professors deserve? I just like put out a percentage. And I think like once you start putting into percentages, then it'll come out like, are you kidding me? I'm only getting 4% of this. And I'm the one that's educating these people. I'm the one that's bringing you in the money. Like, you're insane.
Yeah.
You know?
Because theoretically you want the best and most qualified people in the profession to train everyone entering that profession. But that's not the way it works.
Nope.
That's not where the money is.
Gang, you're exactly right. Like, fucking all my professors, except for maybe 2 or 3, they, like, all they did was they went to school, then they went to masters, they got a PhD, and they started fucking teaching. That's literally the trend that they had. They never went out in the field and actually worked. If you don't engage with the public, you don't engage with companies, how the hell are you supposed to know what are you supposed to be teaching for the next generation? You know?
How are you supposed to prepare them for what they're going to experience when you never experience it?
Exactly. And that's exactly where this fucking culture that has been brewing for me, it's like I see socialism brewing up a lot of these universities because of the simple fact that you like socialism because of the pure simple fact that you've never gone out and actually earned and then had your, like, a big chunk of your taxes taken away, you know, when you've worked hard towards a goal, in my opinion, you know?
And, I mean, as far as socialism goes, I feel like people just don't understand economics. Economics should absolutely be a required course for high school students everywhere in the country.
So that's what an economics students would say. That's that's good. Yes, you're very right. Like, I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. And, like, when it comes to, like, choosing between, like, these different political candidates, like, the major distinction, I mean, everything in government politics is the art of how the government spends money and raises. And if you don't understand economics, then you don't understand why socialism is not maybe the best idea, not where we want to go.
So let me ask you this, how many of your classmates that, like, were also economics degrees people would be left-leaning or right-leaning?
I would say most of them are probably a little right-leaning.
Okay.
But that's also colored by the fact that I went to a Christian school in the state of Texas. So
there's a big bias in that for sure. There's a big bias in that for sure.
Not necessarily representative of, you know, economics students everywhere.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think that, no, for me, I like, you're right. I should study, like, for me, I would have to blame myself too. I wouldn't say that I'm like a professional where I understand economics to a point where I can, like, have a debate about it, you know? I don't think I'm at that stage at all. But you're right. I think that's one aspect of socialism that you do need to understand for sure. But I sort of look at it where, like, what were the horrendous and the atrocities that occurred because of this idea? How many people were killed and how many people, like, how they were treated? That's how I kind of looked at socialism in a way, you know? But for me, you're right. I think that I could back that up better if I had numbers. And the only way I'm going to get numbers is if I study economics, and that's where you record data. That's where you have percentage, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where you have the raw data coming from.
Right.
So you're right. So, like, kind of leading into that, how, like, in the current state of our economic and political status of America, how do you feel about certain candidates that are current right now in the United States?
Well, so the main thing is the Democratic candidates, because unless Trump gets impeached, which he's not, I mean, he might get impeached, probably.
So yeah, they're about to release his tax returns.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
did it get? I think it got approved, didn't it?
I'm not exactly sure. I guess I haven't been paying attention to that as closely as I should have.
But I mean, okay, let's just kind of stagger on the Trump tax thing right now because I really want to say something. A lot of businessmen, I will tell you right now, I think the big thing what's going to happen is going to be like, hey, look at how many times he's kind of sort of like quote unquote tax evaded, like, and there's a bunch of like, cause you can, I'll tell you right now, I don't know if do you know about the 1088? It's sort of where like you buy a property and then when you're selling it, you don't get taxed on it. So that's kind of like your profit. Instead of you taking it in, you reinvest it in another property. And then you can keep evading taxes that way.
Right, and so it doesn't qualify as income for.
Correct, and trust me, a lot of business people do that. That's a logical thing to do, and I think that's the one big thing they're going to keep attacking him because you can keep like pushing that up until how many ever businesses you buy. You know what I'm saying? And that's obvious. Like for me, it's like, hey, if I'm going to buy a new property, I'm just going to put all that money towards that property instead of taking it out and then losing. And I won't have enough to like you know what I'm saying? If you have more money to invest, why would you not do that?
Well, and the same thing applies for like stocks in the stock market. Like, it doesn't become income until you like sell the stock and make profit off of it. But then if you turn around and reinvest those profits immediately into new stocks, then it's not income.
Yeah.
So it's not just real property, although that is a strategy that a lot of people are using.
Yeah.
The problem with that, though, is that you're still going to be subject to property taxes on this property.
Okay, but that's only for property, though, not
for real property.
Yeah, correct. Stocks don't have any property associated to it.
Yeah, no. The risk there is that the price of the stock will go down and lose its value.
Okay, we'll come back to the stock market because I really do want to talk about one thing about the stock market that I don't understand, and I definitely think that you have a better understanding of it. But going back to the Trump tax thing, and another I think another thing they're gonna find through his tax returns is like, when you technically like you're avoiding a lot of the debt that once you do file for bankruptcy, which a lot of businessmen again do, because if you have the opportunity to do it and you want to save your ass, of course you're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of because that's the thing. I don't think a lot of the population within America are business owners or are business people. Most of them work for other companies, and so this for them, if most of the population is gonna see that as like as a problem, and they're like, whoa, what the fuck? What is going on here? I don't know, dude. There could be a shift, and I don't know. It could get to the point where, like, he might be impeached. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, the problem is he might be impeached because we have a Democratic Congress, and it's the House of Representatives who gets to initiate impeachment proceedings.
Yeah.
The problem with that, though, is that it's the Senate who actually carries it out and has the option to convict him, and the Senate is controlled by the Republicans. So he's not going to be convicted.
So all three houses, so it has to be a 2 out of 3, right? From the houses.
Well, there's 2 houses. So there's the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Okay.
They together make up Congress. And so the House of Representatives gets to initiate the impeachment proceedings, and then the Senate hears the evidence.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. It's gonna be crazy, dude. But wait, does it have to? Wait, you didn't answer my question. Does it have to be unanimous, or is it 2 out of 3?
I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like it's probably you might need 2/3 vote in the Senate for a conviction.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
But I'm not entirely certain on that.
Yeah, because couldn't be unanimous. Yeah.
And then the other thing, the other thing with the impeachment, real quick, is even if he gets convicted, that's not going to satisfy everyone, because all that does is put Mike Pence into office, which I feel like most people who hate Trump also hate Mike Pence.
Oh, so I think they hate Mike Pence more, for sure.
So it doesn't really accomplish anything, and then there's one of two things will happen. Either this impeachment inquiry, which really isn't related to the taxes as much as it's related to this Ukrainian controversy.
I don't see any issue with the Ukraine thing that he said, though.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. We don't have the evidence. Based on the evidence that's out there, he couldn't be convicted by anyone.
That's another thing. Is like I don't know. Like I don't want to seem like I'm very right leaning on this, but like, homeboy, like this entire thing started because one guy said it was like a hearsay. Like he heard it, and you're hearing it like from I don't know, like he's like a third party person's telling you about the story. It's not about the real person who's saying it, and that's an issue in my opinion. Like whoever said it needs to come forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just like go before the court and just testify what it was, and or release the call.
Yeah, no, I agree. And let me just say this. I am 100% of the belief that we need to defeat Donald Trump in the next election. I cannot stand Donald Trump. I think he's an embarrassment and a disgrace for the nation.
Wow. Holy smokes. Are you... This is crazy. I thought that you would be for Trump.
No.
Wow. Interesting.
Like, I consider myself mostly a conservative. I do have some leanings that are more moderate or liberal or libertarian.
Yeah.
I consider myself mostly a conservative. The problem with Donald Trump is that he is not a conservative.
No, he's not.
He's not governed as a conservative.
No, he's more of just like he's a party representative, and he's just trying to like get some clout for the party. I agree with you. Like there's some conservative things that like the red flag laws. He literally came out hella strong on that shit, you know. And then you got like fucking Dan Crenshaw, who I was like, wow, he's a good conservative. Nope, fuck that guy. Like all these motherfuckers, like I would call them fake conservatives. You know what I'm saying? Or like I'm a libertarian. I wouldn't even call myself conservative because I'm of the belief that like you know all drugs should just be like loose. Like let people do whatever the hell they want to do. And the conservatives don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm more of a libertarian. Like I just believe in the free market and whatever it needs to do. But
you're a libertarian on most things.
For most things, yeah, I would consider, but I can see the effects of what what could happen if a libertarian was running the country. You know what I'm saying? Like there'd be much more of an inequality in businesses for sure. But yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll slowly lead into that. Let's talk a little bit about the stock market. So I know, like, for a fact, like, okay, the belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, the belief is kind of like, whatever stock you're looking at, treat it like a business, and you're investing into a business, and you're going to get returns if your business does well, and if you're not, then your investment's going to go negative, and if you want to take money out, you can, but it's not going to be worth as much. Correct?
Yeah, right.
So in my eyes, like, I'll tell you... Say what you're going to say. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think you make a good point, and that you should look at, if you're going to invest in a stock, you should preferably believe in the company that you're investing in, and that they're, you know, a sound company, they're going to be successful. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I think you see a lot of danger in, like, just going and jumping in on some of these startups, like investing in, like, what's the driving app, Uber, like investing in stuff like that, just because it's trendy and it's being successful right now, it doesn't necessarily make it a good investment. There are other considerations that you have to think about, like what kind of dividends does a stock pay, or does it pay dividends at all?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that you can really make money in the stock market, is if you invest in stocks with the intention of not selling it for a profit 3 months later, but with the intention of holding it for potentially even years.
Yeah,
and just collecting those dividends.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting a spot right now. I think a lot of like just for like novice people who do not know about investing in stocks, if you're young, invest in stocks that you're not going to touch, or your money that you don't want to see for the next 20 years, all right, or the next 30 years. That's what you should be aiming at. But yeah, if you're older, like, you know, I would say that you want to do that quick nip, like getting your quick profit out, like, but like, am I saying, yeah, a little bit more risky, a little bit more danger, but again, like there's, like, you're right, Jed. I think that it is, like, in my opinion, I think this is where I would try to contest with you in the sense that, like, I do believe, like, you know, like when some of these like beginning stocks that are like, you know, that could boom and you're kind of risking it out there, they're cheap, I would say go for it. Like if you have just $10 or like $20 on the side, go do it, because there's some startup companies that literally like they rise at such a rate where it's insane. You know, they could have like a 300 or 400% growth within a month.
Right. And like Twitter has been one of the best performing stocks in a long time, just because of its popularity. It doesn't have a lot of expenses, and it's almost always going up. And like WWE is another one. As soon as Fox bought the rights to broadcast WWE, the stock price of it went up, and then it's been a little volatile lately. But yeah.
I guess I'm investing more in like technology and like where I can see it's going to be trendy, or like that's the stuff that I'm looking at right now. You know, like one of the big ones is like, let's say, you know, like Lockheed Martin got a deal with the government, and that's for like a multi-million-dollar jet, and you know that's always going to pay off. You know, it's like, I don't know, like if the government's invested in it and if they got their money in it, they're not going to back out that quick. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a success of some sort. And and that's the thing, like America's always been a known prominent country to be supplying technology of war to other countries.
Lockheed Martin's a blue blood or a blue chip stock. Boeing's another one that's, you know, usually performs pretty well. It's been in the market for a long time.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I think you want to look at when you're checking out stocks is how has it performed, not just in the last 6 months or the last couple of weeks, how has it performed over its life? You know, if it has a proven track record, like IBM is, you know, the classic example of a blue chip stock because it's performed well pretty much forever.
Yeah.
The only exceptions being, like, you know, if we have a financial crisis or a downturn in the economy.
Sure. Like, what about like Coca-Cola and Pepsi? How do you? It's not like the best performing stock, but it's a stock that's never over big picture. It's never fell.
You know.
Because it's one of those stocks. Let me give you an example. You know, like the human population on Earth is constantly increasing. You know what I'm saying? There's never a time where it's going to be decreasing. You know, so all that, in my eyes, all I see is like there's more mouths that need water or that need liquid or need soda or whatever it may be, and that's like in my it's like, okay, if the population's always increasing, there's going to be people who need more liquids. Boom. There's one company that is always going to be existing. It's never going to go away. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's like there's a meteorite and comes in and destroys everything.
Right. And I mean, and it's a good point. And also, those companies are involved in other things other than just Coca-Cola and Pepsi. On a similar note, one of the companies that I looked at a lot over the summer was Anheuser-Busch, who produces Budweiser and a number of other beers.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I like to look at when I'm looking at stocks is how close is it to its 52-week low, and because over about, you know, that's a 1-year low. So if it's close to the 1-year low, it's likely going to go up relatively soon, and you're getting you're buying it when it's low.
That's fair. That's fair.
I regret a little bit not jumping in on that one. But,
really?
No, I think Coca-Cola and Pepsi are probably fine. I mean, I'm not a super huge investor. I have stock in a handful of different companies, but I don't pay enough attention to it as much as I should.
Yeah. But, no, that's fair. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I looked at, because one of our, I don't know, the time that where I started to jump in on stocks and like started to learn more about it, it was just like my engineering professor, he literally showed us numbers. Like, engineers are all about numbers, dude. Like, you show us a map of something, we're like, oh god, okay, you're convinced us, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Going back a little bit into it, but he literally just showed us like, hey, if you took your $40,000 that you're putting into school right now and you had invested it in this stock right here, it was like some medical device company that, you know, like had increased by 33% over time, 30, 40, whatever. So he's like, if you had put your $40,000 in here in this company, by the time you graduated, you would have had $120K in your pocket, which is like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was pretty much a eye opener in the sense that like you don't need to be an engineer, you don't need to be something, and put your money towards just school and waste all that money if you're not going to do something out of it. And if you were to invest it in the stocks, like, holy shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
no,
that was like a big eye opener. I was like, what the hell? What am I doing with my life right now?
I mean, not everyone is even close to that successful in the stock market. But
Yeah.
you know, if you do your research, you can usually be fairly successful.
Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, I'm just too lazy, dude. I only invest in things that I work with, or like I know that's gonna be like going up, or you know what I'm saying, like from an engineering perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know, like some of the next big technologies.
Some of the trends you can see coming, and you know, jump in on the train.
I think I can tell you right now, one of the big things that's gonna hit other companies, like in my personal opinion, is like, you know, everything's on the cloud, everything is out there, everybody wants to be recording. There's data out there. Data is like the new big thing. So anything related to data, so like managing data, storing data, every possible part of it. So I know that that's like the next big market. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where the world's gonna go. They're like, humans just have a tendency to keep records and to keep history. Like, we love doing that shit. You know? Yeah. Like, just look at...
And not only just keeping it, but using it, like, for advanced analytics, for business planning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I fucking hate that. I honestly, like, that's one of the things that really pisses me off, is, like, when people store data. I have an issue with it, you know? I don't know. It's a big... Well, let's not get into that, though. That's the part of it where I just don't want to touch right now, dude. But, yeah, I don't know. It's like, you know, like all the stored data, if they're getting analytics out of it and they're using your data to do something with it and to make a bigger profit, are you of the belief that should you get paid for that? Like, because you contributed towards it.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about, like, targeted ads and, like, all the stuff with what Facebook did regarding the last election?
Okay, targeted ads is one thing. Sure, targeted ads is a part of it, but I'm talking about... So, like, you know, like, I don't know, for me, like, let's take, for example, Google Maps, right? They record every single time, how fast did you go, how long did it take, or whatever. Sorry, actually, Google Maps is a bad example because they don't really get an income out of it. But, like, you know, what's the average text time of a texter? You know, like, how long does it take or whatever? And then, like, companies finding better ways, like, or if they see like finger pattern movements, like they can record how fast your finger goes, and designing apps that like have, you know, bigger or smaller letters. And then, like, I don't know, to me, if there's a lot of people buying that product or they want that sort of software, then that's a profit for them. But the only way that you got that profit was taking a bunch of people and they were pretty much putting them in a lab, or you were in a lab in a way. You know what I'm saying? Does that kind of make sense?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I mean, there are several different ways to go with this. Number one is it doesn't harm you that they're taking the data.
Not physically.
Right? Well,
mentally it does, for sure, because they're making a profit and they made it off of me. Even though it was a tiny percentage.
How does that hurt you?
Sorry?
How does that hurt you? I mean, they're providing you better services, right?
Correct. They are providing me better services. You're right. But I guess you're right. I did sign to an agreement saying that yada, yada, yada. But on the other hand, I just believe that, well, if there was a company out there that was like, hey, we'll tell you exactly when you can stop recording or start recording, or like, hey, this is the data we stored. Is this okay? Yes or no? If there's a company that goes out and does this, I'm going to lean towards that, dude, where there's more freedom to choose. Like, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I will point out that Andrew Yang is a big believer in that people own their own information, that they have a property right to it, and if people are going to be taking it and using it, they should be compensated for it.
That's fair.
That's one of his positions that I rather agree with.
I respect that. I did not know that there was a candidate out there that believed in that. Wow.
I'm not sure he's the only one. I think most of the Democratic candidates are very opposed to big business, and so that's kind of in line.
That's another thing. Andrew Yang, I feel like I still get the idea that he still wants businesses out there. He still wants a free market.
Yeah, no, he is not a socialist. Unlike some of the Democratic candidates, like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are both socialists.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't.
Yeah, and the terminology that Andrew Yang uses during his campaign, and I'll just get it out of the way. I'm a big Andrew Yang supporter. Yang Gang 2020.
Dude, it's to me okay. So you're an economics dude. You understand how, like, from a very big, like, big numbers perspective and how that trickles down to everybody else. But to me, it's still a scary thought of the government handing out $1,000. You know what I'm saying? To every citizen. And that's a scary ass thought for me. I don't see how that's sustainable or how. I don't know, dude. It's a crazy thought to me. That's it. I just couldn't. And another part of it, Jed. Okay, let me just get this out. Another part of it is, like, you give $1,000 to most people. How are people spending it right now? How are people spending their money? Are they spending it wisely? I wouldn't say so. You know, I don't think, like, if you give them $1,000, I think that they're gonna spend it on weird crap, and they're gonna be entangled by advertisement, and then they're not actually gonna spend it on shit like, you know, their food, their rent, or their, you know, like, actual necessities. So it, like, unless, like, Andrew Yang, he like kind of revises it and goes like, hey, like, there's like this money, you got to show that this money goes towards housing, or it goes towards food, or it goes towards whatever, you know, then I'm for it a little bit more, for sure.
Well, I just got to say, I completely disagree, and I knew I thought you would bring this up because you brought it up in the earlier episode where you all talked about it. Yes,
I did.
The whole idea of putting conditions like it has to go towards housing, it has to go towards this, that, or the other. Number one, that's just completely antithetical to libertarianism. Like, why is the government tell me how to spend my money?
You're right, dude. It's completely against my beliefs, but let's put it. I'm going off of a hypothetical. I don't even believe that the government we shouldn't even give money to the government. First off, that's the first rule of fucking libertarian, if you want to go down that road. So I don't even believe that they should have money in the first place. Okay. Besides, I would say that I'm a classical liberal, where, like, I believe that they should have at least road, water, and maintenance of government buildings, and fuck, dude, you're getting me riled. And then also, like, obviously wildlife and all that sort of crap, but, like, no more than that. You know what I'm saying? But so that's the first off rule. Second thing, the government is handing you money. That's, like, the biggest no-no for a libertarian ever.
Why? I mean, the whole idea is that it's your money. And that, like, because everyone pays taxes, so they're supposed to derive some benefit from that, right? And so this is just getting the benefit in the raw, unadulterated version of cash.
Okay,
and one of the nice things about it is that it's for everyone.
Okay, then how about this? How about they just reduce taxes so that you wouldn't have to pay $1,000 a month? Like, they literally, you take the federal tax, and then you were like, yo, so everybody here, you're just going to reduce taxes so you don't have to pay $1,000.
Well, because not everyone pays an equal amount in tax. So we're going to even the distribution of the benefits.
Okay, then let's take this. You know, when, like, you calculate out your tax return or whatever it may be, with, like, at the end of the year when you pay your what do you fill out? Whatever, your tax return at the end of the year. So, like, $12,000, right? So you are forgiven $12K, like, at the end of it, like, regardless of how, like, like, just so we can get off your thing of, like, everybody has to pay different taxes. At the end of it, when you're paying for it, they're literally like, here, we'll cut out $12,000 of this. Wouldn't be that the equivalent of the same thing?
I mean, it would be close, but there are a lot of people who don't pay any taxes, like people who live below the poverty line. And the whole idea of this is twofold. Number one, it's going to help everyone. The second thing is, it's going to become more and more necessary as automation becomes more and more prevalent. And
you're right.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
Let me just say this about the freedom dividend, which is what he calls his form of universal basic income.
Yeah.
So every American citizen over the age of 18 receives $1,000 a month in cash. Mm-hmm. And so this is going to replace every other form of government assistance, like food stamps, unemployment benefits, etc., all the welfare programs. You either are going to remain on those welfare programs, or you're going to get the benefits. So
okay, so hold on. So actually, before his interview had came out, there was one interview where I watched where it was a left-leaning show of some sort, but they were like, so a lot of these families, some of them depend on food stamps and all that sort of stuff. He says that, and like whatever, you know, you get a certain amount of money a month from the government to give whatever. he's gonna add that on top of his thing, you know. That's even scarier because these people never get off food stamps or like. I'm just trying to be an advocate for the right. No. You're here, like you know.
Well, I mean, my understanding is that his plan is to you're either going to be on the freedom dividend or you're going to remain on the welfare program. And the whole idea of that is good because
that's fair.
Then you're not trapped on those welfare programs that are going to punish you. Like if you're on unemployment benefits, if you then go and get a job, you lose the benefits, and it punishes you for improving your situation. And so you get people who are forced to kind of stay on those programs.
Interesting. So that's a good point. Then that would force more people to come out and actually go work and get a job, and then like, because your basic necessities are met now because of this $1,000. Okay, that's I could see the benefit in that for sure. But then, how much of a tax increase would that take? Right from right now.
Well, let me get to that in just a minute because he has a very specific plan for paying for it. One of the other benefits of it is that it reduces bureaucracy because it's a no-strings-attached coverage. So determining who is eligible becomes a lot simpler. Administering the benefits becomes a lot easier. And that's a very good benefit of it. Another benefit of it is that it boosts entrepreneurship. The Roosevelt Institute, which studies these sorts of things, found that the UBI would create 4.6 million jobs and grow the economy by 12% continuously per year.
Oh, dude, I have to do some research on that. I have a hard time believing that, dude. Hard time believing that. Like, I don't know. Wait, what's the study called? I'm gonna go look it up and actually do some research myself. What's the study called?
It's the Roosevelt Institute.
Okay. Yeah. That's hard because, in my opinion, let me put it this way. I guess I base most politics off of human nature. And right now, I think that human nature has a tendency to be lazy, and they're envious at the current moment. And I think that's a bad recipe for, because you get $1,000. Let's say every your house, your car, and everything is met within $1,000, and you never have to work. Then how do you tackle that? But they never do anything. Let's say most of the population ends up doing that. Then what do we do?
Well, I mean, if we get to that point, I mean, it depends on kind of where things go in terms of automation and what's happening with unemployment, what's happening with AI. I mean, we are seeing jobs get reduced all over the country.
Correct.
And so eventually we may have to go to a model where you're not working. I mean, I know it's a complete hypothetical, but this is something that they tackled in, like, the old TV show Star Trek, decades ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is eventually there's just not going to be jobs for everyone to, go and put in 40 hours of work a week and bring home a paycheck and, pay all the bills.
Let's talk about that. I think, I was reading a podcast or what sorts and whatnot, but like I'd gone through multiple podcasts of this, but the main issue, which I agree with a lot of people had brought up, were like, yo, what if you, like, a lot of people find their purpose in life, or they find their passion through the work they do. Like, they find meaning through that. So that's another scary part. What is going to become their meaning of life? What is going to drive them to get up? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people need drive.
Well, and hopefully a lot of those people will be able to continue having work, because that doesn't describe everyone. I do think it describes a large number of people, and hopefully we're not going to see unemployment balloon too far out of proportion in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I mean, if you have the universal basic income, you're more likely to be able to explore, like, artistic pursuits. Like, if you want to, hypothetically, say, go be a chef, if you get $1,000 a month, it becomes much more economically feasible for you. And so you see people have the options to go chase their passion, or if your passion is to start your own business, or do something like that. And that's a lot of where the entrepreneurship comes from, and also the increased consumption. If everybody out there has $1,000 additional dollars of disposable income, and not everyone will have it in the form of disposable income. Some people are going to use it for bills and stuff. But if you have that disposable income, consumption's going to go up, which means businesses are going to improve. You're going to have more people to sell to, and they're going to have more money and more willingness to buy things.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that the one beautiful. So like, okay. So I like once. Yeah. Let's keep going through this, but I want to get to the point where like where his plan is to tax like big companies. You know, that's because where's the money? Yeah. You're gonna explain to me where the money comes from. That's the big part that I still have a hard time processing. Or, yeah.
Okay. Last thing in terms of the benefits that I wanted to mention real quick was that currently there are about 18.5 million people in the United States living in quote-unquote deep poverty, which means you're more than 50% below the poverty. There's about 40 million people living just moderately below the poverty. I mean, and that's insane, that we live in the wealthiest country in the world and we have tens of millions of people living in abject poverty. It makes absolutely no sense. Like we talked earlier about how this is the best country in the world and people do have opportunities, but we have so many people trapped where, I mean, your physical health deteriorates severely if you're living below the poverty line, your mental health deteriorates severely, and you have people who can't get out of this cycle of poverty. This would lift, the estimates are about 74% of people currently living below the poverty line would be lifted above the poverty if we went to this UBI.
Yeah, I have heard the statement where the average American in America right now has like maybe $450 at the end of the month. And then sometimes if you have other extra bills like a car, you know, you need to repair your car or whatever, then you're out of that money really quick. You're right. I'd be more for it if he was like, okay, there's going to be the freedom dividend for a certain amount of time. And then let's see how it goes. And let's see where it works out. Because I don't know. And that, you might find this crazy, but as a libertarian, I have a different idea of how laws should be. It's like, if you're going to put in a law, there should be like a time where it expires.
Right.
I believe in that, dude. I think that you should try it out and there should be a way to go back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the problem. Is like, once you start giving this out and people become dependent upon it, then we're kind of screwed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say this model doesn't work out to with Roosevelt's institution's statistics, which has happened before. You know what I'm saying? Not all trends and not all philosophies or whatever you want to call it. They don't all pan out the way you wanted to pan out. So, and if it doesn't, and if it doesn't pan out, then it's like, okay, we should have a way to come back and get to a, I don't know.
And, I mean, we have a lot of laws that do kind of work like that. Number one, unless it's a constitutional amendment, you can always reverse a law with a new law, repealing the old one.
Oh, I did not know
and
that.
then
Okay.
we also have laws that do have kind of a set time. Like, for instance, and I don't know, we might want to talk about it more because it's kind of a big deal. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which actually isn't technically called that. That's not the actual name, but that's how everybody refers to it.
Yeah.
Which was the big tax cut when Trump first got into office. That has a 10-year life. So at the end of 10 years, that bill will cease to be in effect unless it's renewed.
Oh,
so we do have laws that kind of work like that.
Okay. I did not know that. I always had this idea that it always ingrained in me, like all laws should have at some point, like, you know, let's see it out. An expiration date. And especially the ones on drugs, like, just one fucking president can be like, yo, so for one, like, you know, for the next 4 years, the next 5 years, all drugs are legal. Let's see what happens. Because I'll give you an example, dude. For me, it just looks like a rabbit like chasing another rabbit, and you're just going around circle and circle. Like, drugs have been an issue for the past, like, since the 70s in America, you know? Maybe even prior to that, but mainly it was the 70s when the bunch of the fucking crack cocaine had come into the country, and then you had a bunch of cops trying to chase them. We spent so much fucking taxpayer money in order to chase these people, and nothing has been gotten, like, you know, it hasn't gotten rid of the problem that we initially discussed. And so, I know so many cops that are just like, yo, just make it legal. Like, in my opinion, if it's not harming anybody else but the user himself, they should have that freedom. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree, yeah.
But I don't know what it is about the Conservative Party that they see this, like, where they see this, like, oh, we need to protect the people. We need to No, protect your fucking self. Do what you need to do and fuck off other people's life, dude. Plain and simple. It should be that. Like, well, I don't know.
and it's kind of intuitive to the name conservatism, right? Like you kind of want to conserve the status quo. So whatever has been, and we've had these things be illegal for decades.
Yeah.
Like they just want to maintain that.
Yeah.
I will say that I do believe that if Andrew Yang were to get the nomination, which he won't, and we can talk more about.
I don't even think he's going to be in the top 3 candidates, dude.
Yeah. So, and we can talk more about that in a little bit if you want. But if he were to get the nomination, hypothetically, I think he would get a lot of libertarian votes because he espouses a lot of libertarian ideas, like eliminating the federal prohibition on marijuana use, which you and I might want to circle back to that a little later.
Let's go, baby.
He also wants to decriminalize opioid use. And not because he doesn't think that it's a problem, but because he acknowledges that criminalizing things doesn't stop them from happening.
Dude, I think I'm coming around to Andrew Yang then. I think you've convinced me. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So if opioid use is criminal, then people aren't going to seek the help that they need because they might end up going to prison or whatever. If you decriminalize it, then they're more likely to seek help, get the assistance, and then we can, as a society, fight the opioid epidemic that we're facing.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with guns. Criminalizing guns isn't going to stop gun violence. Criminalizing abortions is not going to stop abortions. It's just going to make them more dangerous and expensive, which nobody wants, regardless of your views on abortion. He's also the most Second Amendment-friendly candidate among the Democrats, in my opinion. And lastly, regarding his libertarian tendencies, he wants to effectively eliminate the welfare state, which we already kind of talked about. Like, he doesn't want people to be trapped on all these welfare programs. Like, he wants the universal basic income to kind of cover all of that, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Okay, if that's the case, if you're gonna eliminate all the welfare programs and just have a straight up UBI for everybody, then that's fair. You know, that's equal to my eyes, and so from that standpoint, I'm on board. You got me on that. You got me hooked. Like I don't have a lot of all the things that I thought were a problem. You've already covered it, and you've explained that they're not a problem. But
and a lot of the candidates have UBI things that they want to do. Like Bernie Sanders wants a guaranteed universal income, but he doesn't necessarily want to eliminate all of the other stuff. So it's something that I think is fairly particular just to Andrew Yang and not necessarily some of the other Democratic candidates who want to do a universal.
Yeah. The only problem I have with the Democratic Party is that, again, they have these systems that they have in mind, but I never see the end to them. You never see the end to them. Just plain and simple as that. Another side note to that, I don't know if you know, but Amazon's building like a welfare or like a building just for homeless people in Seattle. And I mean, again, big companies, they have good intentions, but I don't think the intentions are going to pan out as they want them to, you know.
Well, I'd much rather a company do it than the government.
I agree. I completely agree.
It's hard to hold the government accountable. It's much easier to hold businesses accountable.
Yeah.
Like, because you can have the government step in and hold them accountable, and you can also have consumers hold them accountable, especially in this day and age where we have so much information that we have access to. If a company's doing something bad, people are going to know about it, people are going to care, and they're going to shift their spending habits and tendencies.
For sure. Well, you're right.
Anyways, did you want to talk about the,
Anyways, going back to... Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Did you want to talk about the value-added tax, which is basically Andrew Yang's plan to pay for universal basic income?
Yes, let's put Andrew Yang to this idea. Let's put it to an end. So explain where the money's going to come from and who is particularly going to be taxed. Go.
Yeah. So basically, what he wants to do is a value-added tax, which is very similar to a sales tax, in that it basically taxes transactions as they happen in the ordinary course of business. And it's important to note that virtually every major nation in the world uses a value-added tax, like Hungary, Denmark, Sweden, Greece, Ireland. I mean, they all.
What does that mean though? What like value-added tax? Like what? Like you're gonna tax just the transaction straight up. So I can see how you're finally gonna try to pull in Amazon out of that, and they're gonna be paying a tax on it now.
So let's do just a very simple example.
Okay.
Let's say that there's a country with a value-added tax where businesses are going to be taxed at 10% on transactions. So at the first step of the business, let's say a farmer grows some cotton and sells it to a textile maker for $1. Okay? So the sales price with 10% tax is going to be $1.10. So even though the value is only $1, it's going to be sold for $1.10. That 10 cents is going to come to the government. At the next step, the textile maker is going to make the fabric, sell the clothes, and he's going to sell it for, say, $5. But with the 10% tax, it's going to be $5.50.
Yeah.
And so at every step of the transaction, and so when they make the shirt, sell it to the retailer, and the retailer sells it to you, if there's going to be that 10% tax at every step of the transaction.
So cost is going to go up for businesses then.
I mean, costs will go up.
Yeah.
But what Andrew Yang's advocating is a 10% value-added tax, which is exactly half of what it is in virtually every European nation. Like Hungary, for instance, has a 27% value-added tax. I mean, most of the nations are 20% or above. The average for OECD countries is 19.3%. So he's wanting to do a fairly modest one, which is similar to what they have in South Korea and Australia. Japan and Switzerland have relatively low value-added tax. Canada's is at 5%. But, I mean, the notion that we can't afford to do it is a little silly, especially when you look at the profit margins that some of these massive companies are raking in. And one of the things that the value-added
So here's some things that kind of bother me with that. So let's say as a business person, like my family runs businesses, you know, like once you bring in this tax, this value-added tax, like when you sell it to the customer, I don't think the customer is going to be buying it as much because it's gotten more expensive. He won't, like, you see what I'm saying? That's going to trickle down to whatever business or whatever, from one transaction to the other. It's going to keep trickling down. So do you see where the economy could go stagnant at some point because you can't afford, like, wherever your finances could go to, like, let's say provide another job? Well, now with this tax it's getting more expensive, so you can't do that now. Right.
And that's more general to all taxes, right? Like, and I do think it's important to acknowledge that from an economic standpoint, taxes create a dead weight loss, which means that the efficiency and productivity of an economy goes down the more taxes you have. And that's part of why some of these Democrats that want to, you know, fund all these massive programs like eliminating student debt, Medicare for all, you know, these things that cost trillions of dollars, and they want to pay for it all through new taxing.
Yeah.
That's bad for the economy.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so that's just general to all taxes. Yeah. As far as the value-added tax...
Yeah, but you've kind of proven my point there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, the government should tax as little as it can while still paying for the things that we expect it to pay for.
Okay, so from this, all it's gonna do is just it's gonna tax all businesses across the board, is what's gonna happen.
Right. Right.
Why? See that. Let me put it this way. So let's say I know that he's trying to tackle and try to get more money out of from companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Apple, and like I can see where he's trying to get more of the money from them. But on the other hand, where Andrew Yang's trying to say, like, I want more entrepreneurship and he wants more of this, like he wants more of small businesses to survive, that's not going to happen in my opinion. That's only going to cause more disparity in wealth. I don't know, from my perspective. Because you see what I'm saying?
Well, I think on the fringes of people who are buying, like, things that are, like, luxury items, so if you're buying, like, a $500 pair of headphones, and that's 10% more expensive, so it's $50 extra, maybe that's going to move the needle on whether you're going to engage in that transaction. Although, at the same time, you have $1,000 extra a month in your back pocket, so maybe it's not going to impact you that much after.
Oh, sneaky!
We already tax businesses. The idea of a value-added tax is to tax them in a way where it's harder for them to hide profits and hide income. Because if you only tax the final sale when it's being sold to the consumer, number one, you're harming the consumer more directly. if you're taxing businesses when they do transactions with one another, I mean, those are still very important economic transactions that should be taxed.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. To me, I'm a very big believer of the free market, and I don't even agree that the government should have their hand when there's just a deal being made between one person to the other. So there's a big contention in that if you were to take my libertarian views and apply it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, there is a rationale for taxing pretty much every transaction, because the government, so the way to think about taxes, I like to think of the government like it's its own corporation that provides goods and services, primarily services like...
But it's really shitty, though, as a company.
I think that's a fair assessment. It provides services in exchange for taxes, which are the fees that it collects in exchange for those services. And so, by taxing transactions between businesses and between individuals, because the government regulates those transactions, those transactions are subject to government law, government regulation.
Yeah.
And so the government is, theoretically at least, looking out for you, protecting you, and making it possible for you to engage in those transactions.
Yeah, that kind of bothers me. That statement just bothered me a lot. It just, I don't know, dude. It's very hard for me to because it always sounds like there's a big daddy who's trying to take care of me. I don't need that shit. Go fuck off. But
we do need a government.
We do need a government, yes. It's just, I don't know, dude. That's the thing. I know a lot of people, libertarian views are not popular. I know that. I know this. And a lot of my listeners are probably going to be like, this fucking nut is crazy, dude. Okay? I know. I get it. I know. I know I'm crazy. Okay?
Well, I don't even disagree with you. I'm not completely opposed to libertarianism. Frankly, on some issues, I think I'm probably fairly libertarian myself.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's about limiting the scope of government to what it was supposed to be according to the Constitution. We've seen over the decades, and frankly over the centuries, since the Constitution came into being, we've seen the federal government in particular seize more and more power, depriving state and local governments of their power when they're far more representative of what the people want and what they need.
Yep.
The federal government keeps seizing power when we need to limit it to the scope of what was provided in the Constitution.
Yep. That's the thing, dude. And I think when the founding fathers had created the Constitution, first of all, the Constitution, which is a beautiful thing, the Constitution was written so they could limit government. And that I don't know, in my opinion, the only way that the government can get power from people is if you give money to the government. You know what? You see what I'm saying? If you don't want to feed the beast, don't fucking feed the beast.
Yeah. The things that we don't like about what the government does is how they spend money, primarily, right?
And they mismanage money. There's no tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even a good company. They're not even profitable.
We haven't run a balanced budget in decades. And we probably never will again in our lifetime if we're being realistic.
Just so sad, though.
It is.
What are we doing?
That's why there are conservative candidates, Republican candidates, in the last election cycle, who are proponents of a constitutional amendment requiring that Congress balance the budget, that they are bound by the Constitution. Yeah. And I think that's something that would be supported by virtually every American. So if we could just get it raised, it could probably be part of our Constitution. Yeah. The problem is amending the Constitution is extremely difficult. Well,
the last time there was a civil war, so yeah, might be an exciting
time. We've had some constitutional amendments since then. We've had women's suffrage and civil rights amendments.
Slavery was abolished, so that was also a good thing for sure. No doubt about that. Yeah. But it was, I don't know, dude. That's the thing. If there was any part of it that could be amended, then that's where the issue lies. Is because everything comes down to guns too, and how is the Second Amendment gonna hold up? And not only that, but if it could be voted out, then that's insane. Another thing is the Second Amendment at the very end states that what does it say at the very end? I can't remember exactly, but it's like one of the amendments that could never be taken out. You know.
Well, yeah, it's one of the original Bill of Rights amendments. It's
correct.
One of the original things.
And it's just one of those things that, like, in my opinion, I think that if there is to be a next civil war, I think that this would, I don't know if this would be the main reason for it, but this will be one of the reasons. Like, if there was a civil war ever to erupt again, you know? And it's so much more life scale. And I hope so too, because that's a bloodbath that we will never be able to come back from, you know. And not only that, but we're also and we're also going to be very vulnerable by other nations to take us over.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
I don't even think that at that point, I don't even think the UN would ever hold up. Like, let's say that you had if any country had the opportunity to take over America, Russia and China would probably work together to take it down, and the UN wouldn't stand a chance. What the hell is the UN going to do? You know?
Yeah, the UN doesn't have a lot of backbone.
No,
that's for sure.
Fuck no. But yeah, just hypotheticals. Just hypotheticals, you know what I'm saying? Just hypotheticals.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting out.
Yeah. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah. Well, about that, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. Okay, so did we hit the stock market part? Okay, so we figured out how he's gonna pay for his dividend. That's good. That's great. And was he planning on taxing the stock market in some form or fashion, like Bernie Sanders was trying to?
I mean, he might be. I'm not exactly sure. If you go to his website, which is I don't even know the website. I think yang2020.com or something. But,
okay.
Like he has I think 140 policy proposals on the website. I mean, it's ridiculous how detail oriented all of it is. So if you're interested, I mean, you can go.
That's actually kind of cool. So I don't think any presidential candidate has ever put out what he wants to do and just laid it on the table. That's crazy.
No, and it's in stark contrast to a candidate like Elizabeth Warren. Like, I don't know if you watched the last presidential debate last month.
I did watch part of it. Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's one of the things that specifically Amy Klobuchar hammered Elizabeth Warren on, because she would not answer the question of how she's going to pay for her Medicare for all.
That's great, dude. I think that's the fucking thing. If you have an idea, show me the plan of how this is going to get implemented. Let's see the step by step. Let's break it down.
Absolutely.
That's what you fucking do with, let's say anybody's trying to make a scientific theory. Dude, you're going to get bashed on every step of the way. They're going to question you. What was the environment? How did you set it up? How many times did you do this? Because that's important. You know what I'm saying? And that should be done exactly with policy. Every presidential candidate should be like, hey, I have this idea. Okay, let's see how are you going to fucking implement this? You know?
Right.
Why keep it in a back door on a Bunsen burner, bro? Let's get it all out there. You know what I'm saying? Let's fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. And let the people choose which they think makes more sense and fits their ideas.
Yeah, and another part of it that I think that comes out of this is you have an idea and you have a plan. That's how you can get the American population to come in and be like, hey, what parts of this plan do you not like? Let's try to find substitutes. Let's try to work together, try to make it a better place, and try to make this a better law for everybody. Would you not agree to that? You know what I'm saying? If there's a recipe, let's try to work and let's see if okay, maybe I don't like this part of it. Okay, let's try to vote that. Let's vote for in and out of that if we like this or not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Right. I mean, and that's kind of just a more philosophical thing. The more you talk about, the more detailed you are about what you believe, the more likely you are to find common ground. And that's where you really get to start seeing people working together.
All right. Okay. All right, Andrew Yang. I'm going to look more into you, and I think you might be the first Democratic candidate that I'm ever going to take into consideration out of this race, for sure. Or Tulsi Gabbard. She's another one, but...
yeah. Well, she's going to have to drop out soon. I mean, her polling numbers are just awful.
Yeah.
Right now, there's three candidates kind of that are front runners, and it's Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, fuck all those guys, dude.
Yeah. Kamala Harris.
One worked with a crook. One is almost one supported a crook, and then, yeah, it's just I can't justify it.
And then Bernie's the other one.
Yeah, Bernie supported at the end, like he was supporting Hillary Clinton, and like,
Well, I mean, he was supporting the Democratic Party. It's kind of like the Republicans supporting Trump.
Bruh, I don't give a shit. Like the lesser of two evils. I don't like Trump either, but there's no fucking way that you could you know what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna support a crook, you're still supporting a crook, regardless of what party they are for or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, you have those three candidates, and then you have like Kamala Harris, who like a month or two ago was in the mix. She's like her campaign's collapsed completely.
Yeah. The only reason she was like up and high going was when she did that story against Biden, where she was talking about herself in the third person. And then at the end she's like, I was that girl. And then everybody like they went nuts. And
and then it was Tulsi Gabbard who like basically ended her political career.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I can't remember. I did not watch that part of it. I never got to watching that, but I had heard about it. And
So Kamala Harris has been the Attorney General for the state of California, and Tulsi Gabbard basically came after her for the way she prosecuted people of color, and it was pretty unfair to them.
Yeah,
which is just awful for Democratic candidates and any candidate.
And that's the thing, yeah. Dude, like I remember when, I'd seen a clip of Kamala Harris. She was very proud of prosecuting a bunch of black men for marijuana charges and all that sort of stuff. And then like right now, obviously, how the party's changed and how the party's moved forward, they're all for marijuana legalization. And then was that the thing she got bashed on? Was that part of it? Or am I thinking of something completely different?
It was basically her criminal justice record.
Okay, got it. So that was part of it then.
And that's what her experience is. Like, that's her whole, political experience is being a federal prosecutor.
Yeah.
And so if you can't stand on that experience, then you don't really have a leg to stand on politically in this campaign.
Yeah.
And then we've seen Pete Buttigieg. He's been surging according to all the recent polls, and I think that's mostly because of how well he performed in the CNN New York Times.
Wait, Buttigieg, is he the gay individual? Was he the...
Yeah, he's homosexual. He's a mayor of a town in Minnesota, or city in Minnesota.
Got it.
And, he's a veteran also, which tomorrow's Veterans Day. Shout out the troops.
Shout out. Except for I don't get a day off, so... Not shout out to the companies. You can go fuck you. I'm kidding. But yeah, shout out to the veterans. Thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping this country alive.
So he's been surging up. We'll see if that, he can keep that momentum going. And then the other three are Amy Klobuchar, Andrew Yang, and Cory Booker. They're still kind of hanging around, but they're running out of time.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke just withdrew from the race, I think a week or two ago. And then, Tulsi Gabbard, Julian Castro, Tom Steyer, any of the other candidates, they're not really in it. I mean, their polling numbers are awful.
You bring up, sorry to bring up Andrew Yang again, but, one of the other things is, there's, when I watched the Democratic debate, most of it was legit, was just, this victimized mentality Olympics. You know what I'm saying? And I think the only person that did not make themselves out to be a victim to get votes was Andrew Yang. And he never was like, oh, I feel bad for myself or what yada yada yada. Everybody has fucking problems, dude. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to hear how you should get the vote because you had a little bit more problems than the other dude. No. That's not a valid way of winning anything.
No.
But
yeah. I agree. And, I mean, just kind of even broader than that, I think you have Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, and Andrew Yang are kind of the more moderate Democrats.
Yeah.
And those are the three who maybe could actually beat Trump in a general election.
I think so. In a debate, they could.
Yeah. And then you've got Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are the extreme left Democrats. And then you kind of have Cory Booker and Joe Biden hanging out in between those two groups as they're pretty far left-leaning, but not as harsh as Warren and Bernie.
I don't know, dude. I just feel like Joe Biden has gone more left just so he could get a bigger voter base, or like try to steal votes from the other Democratic candidates like Warren or, because you can tell I don't really think that that's whatever he's saying. Those are his beliefs in any shape or form. But it is what it is.
He's a tough candidate because I mean, number one, all he seems to do on the campaign trail is take credit for things that happened during Obama's administration, which maybe he deserves some credit for some of that stuff, but he was the vice president. It's not all your responsibility, man.
Yeah, no, he was kind of just like, you have to kind of be like the back, like you got to keep supporting him, and you can take some of the credit, but it's not due to you, or I don't even think there's a lot to be happy for, but...
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm being for real.
Oh, yeah, I think you and I have different opinions on how effective Obama was. But.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. It was maybe I'm bringing in a lot of like personal stuff that happened to my family, the things that through his policies, how we were affected, but...
Right.
A lot of my own family members and like my extended family and all that crap. I was just like, this is horrendous. Like, what the fuck just happened? But I mean, I know it's not all him to blame. It's like it's a combined economy and whatnot. But like, I don't even agree with Bush. I fucking hated Bush. I mean, nonsense of a president.
We haven't had a good president in a long time.
No, we have not. Like, hell no. Not, and the ones that we did have were shot. So.
Realistically, it's going to be either Warren or Biden. For Bernie, his platform and rhetoric is just virtually identical to what it was the last time around, and so there's nothing new there. There's nothing exciting. So he's not going to get people excited, especially, he's a loser. He lost the last time, right? Like, he doesn't need to run again.
Yeah. Plus, he has a bunch of health issues too, so there's no viable. Trump's going to keep attacking his health, and it's game over. So, like, he's legit. He's going to lose. He's going to be a talk show at the fucking debate if it ever comes to that.
Yeah, people are worried about the heart attack, and I think people should be worried about the fact that all three of the front-running candidates are so old for the Democrats.
Yeah, what the hell is that? We got the freaking Grandpa and Grandma Olympics up there, bro. What the shit?
Like, Elizabeth Warren's 70 years old. If she were to be elected, she would become the oldest president ever inaugurated to a first term. And then Biden's even older than her. He's 76, and Bernie is 78, and Trump is 73. So,
what was the average? What was the average survival rate in the? I want to know, like in the 40s, the 30s, or even the 20s.
I have no idea.
I guarantee all these motherfuckers will be dead by then.
Yeah,
I have a feeling, dude.
Probably. I'm not sure any of them are going to make it too much longer. Joe Biden, he's been slurring his speech during all of these debates.
I saw that.
He's inarticulate, incoherent on occasion. And so...
That's nuts, dude.
It's going to cause a big problem for the Democrats in particular because voter turnout was insanely low last time around. Only 46% of eligible voters between the ages of 18 and 29 actually voted, while 71% of voters 65 and over voted. And we know that young people tend, not maybe you and I included, but tend to be more democratic and more progressive. So it's going to cause big problems for the Democrats if the voter turnout for young people is as low as it was the last time.
46%, that's really sad, dude. Good God.
And, even among people 30 to 44, which is relatively young, it was only 59%.
Yeah.
Voter turnout been a big enemy of the Democrats.
Another issue with that, Jed, is like, do you see how freaking hard it is to vote? How many fucking lines upon lines there is? This just proves the inefficiency of the government. But that's insane, dude. First of all, you should be able to take a whole day, all that. There should be one dedicated day where you go and vote.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but then like fucking have so many machines that there's no wait. Like have it so it's that way. You know what I'm saying? Or like it should be like one of those things where it's like 5 minutes or less. Because if people get tired of fucking standing there, yeah.
Like why can't we have an app for voting where you have like the facial recognition that confirms you are you? And then you vote.
Gang, right. Dude, that's the next. That might be the next big thing. Dude, the government, please listen to this podcast. I don't usually like you listening in, but listening to this podcast, bro. Get something. Get some knowledge. Dude, but yeah, I think we're not very far away from that, honestly. To be very honest, like, it could be like, hey, show me your state ID. Let's see it. Let's see the tag on the back. Because they have those numbers, you know?
Right.
You have your original picture that's taken. You could take a picture right then and there and go and vote. But you're gonna find this surprising. I'm not allowed to vote. On my license, like I got it so that I think I was in a mind state, and I think I still am somewhat. But like this 2-party system where you're just sort of, you know, you're voting for something that you necessarily 100% don't believe in, and I don't know, dude. It sort of messed with my psyche at the time. But I still believe that to some point. I think in my opinion, I think that until we break the cycle of a 2-party system, we have more competition within the government and who we vote, you know, that's the thing. I believe in the free market, and I think that look at how well and Americans like overall are doing. Why don't we treat the same thing with our you know, our policies instead of have more competition up there? I guarantee we're gonna have a better country. Happier people.
No, I agree, and I think that's one of the things that the Democratic Party is kind of going through right now, is trying to decide, are they going to go extreme left-wing, or are they going to be more moderate? And that's kind of the choice between Biden and Warren. I know you don't like Biden, and I don't really like Biden either, although I think he's better than Trump, probably. Maybe, I don't know, that's kind of tough. But,
I would disagree with that statement for sure.
But between Warren and Biden, Warren is the more extreme left candidate. But you're not going to beat Trump by going farther left. That's what they tried to do last time with Hillary Clinton. She's an extreme left-wing candidate. And so you have all these moderate and libertarians and third-party people who are kind of left. They either don't vote or vote for a third party, which is basically the same as not voting. And
I hate that statement so much, dude. Gosh dang it. I don't know.
I mean, just
true.
Effectively. Look, I voted third party last time because I couldn't vote for Hillary or Trump.
Correct. And I voted Libertarian too.
But at the same time, if you're going to vote for one of the potential actual presidential candidates, you're left between choosing these two extremes, and that's just a really hard choice for a lot of people, because both extremes are, I think, in a lot of people's opinions, bad.
Yeah, they're shit. They are shit. I don't know. Maybe there just needs to be a restructure of the entire, restructure of the entire government altogether. That's hard. How do you even go about doing that? It's a, it doesn't happen.
I don't know how we would go about doing that.
I keep hearing this one line where, like, you know, back in the day, tribes and people only consisted between of 100 to 150 people. That's how many close relationships, friends, or family you can possibly keep in your head at one time. There's a statistic about that. So we need to restructure the government around that ideology, and that, like, I mean, we kind of have that now where, like, you know, we have federal government, we have state government, and then, would you call it county government?
Local government.
Local government. Yeah. But local government is county, well, okay, whatever.
Well, local government can either be the county or the city or, you know, things
correct.
like that.
And I think we need to break it down even smaller. Like, keep going and keep digging, and because there's no way that you can get a whole bunch of people to be back. Like, 50%, around 50% of the country does not agree with their own damn president. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're at a state where this is like, we're at the boiling point. You know what I'm saying? It's hard.
Right.
That's why we have such a rift in, like, within our current economics. It's insane.
Yeah, everything's extremely polarized, and the worst part about it is that you can't. Most people don't even recognize that the other side has even reasonable ideas. Like, I don't know if you paid attention to the Ellen DeGeneres kind of controversy from like several weeks ago.
Oh, with Bush when she was just on the baseball game.
Yeah, football game. But
Sorry, football game. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was insane.
It absolutely blows my mind that Ellen DeGeneres, who has been a progressive liberal for pretty much her entire life, a champion of democratic ideals, is getting bashed by the same people who believe in those same ideals because she made the simple statement that we should be kind to one another. Somehow that's a controversial statement in 2019.
That's fucking insane. That makes absolutely zero sense to me. And dude, and I think there's two ways to look at this, Jed. I think that the stuff that we see on Twitter, like people who actually talk and they actually get into arguments, that's a very small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's only, like, let's say you watch a video, right? There's let's take for example any video you take. There's maybe like 100, like let's say there's thousands and thousands of views, but there's only like 15 comments. And most of them are either going to be negative or they're going to be super, super positive. So, and that's the thing, that's what most people see. So it's like, is the world actually like that, or is it just perceived that way through social media?
I think you get a distorted perception of it because of social media.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get at. I would not try to see, like, let's say Ellen DeGeneres, she got bashed on, right? Where'd she get bashed on? On social media? Don't even look at that shit. Don't even try to gauge her audience or her viewers or whatever through a fucking, like, social media thing where everybody, the only people who are talking, who are either super, super happy or super, super angry. They're already at the end of the spectrum. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But at the same time, even if that's not currently an accurate representation of how most people think, the more people spend that time on social media and they're being exposed to those ideas and maybe they're being tempted to like or retweet or repost or something, those same ideas, the more likely they are to adopt those ideas, and that's where it becomes dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think you exactly hit it on point where you could be seeing the same information and they're feeding it to you over and over again. So like, let's say you're a little angry, but you see it again. Now you're even angrier. So that's what brings you to retweet it or post about it. So,
and people also get this idea that retweeting or tweeting something like that's woke or progressive or whatever is actually doing any good. It doesn't accomplish anything. That's not what activism is.
Yeah.
That's not how you enact change in society. Like,
you're
if you want to
right.
do something, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Sitting behind a keyboard doesn't accomplish anything.
You're right. Though we called them internet warriors, baby, or you called them keyboard warriors. Go fuck yourself.
They're not going to be kind to you for saying that.
Yeah, no, I don't give a flying fuck, dude.
As well you shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, dude, it's been about a week, and I logged off of Instagram. I haven't gone back. There was about a couple months ago where I literally did not go on Instagram for like 2 months. I don't go on Facebook anymore. I have Snapchat, but I'm even thinking about deleting that. Like, I don't see the point in just live your life. Like, honestly, like, I'm posting these videos. I'll look through it now because there's like so few watchers, but if it ever gets to the point where, like, people are just bashing me, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna stop looking at comments. Like, I'll do my thing. I'm gonna post, but I'm not gonna try to ruin my life because of this 1% population that's trying to piss you off.
Right?
They're trolling you. Plain and simple.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, dude. Yeah. All right, man. One of the other things that I kind of wanted to touch base with you, since we played sports together, and I kind of there's a current issue that's been going on, is like transgender people transitioning and playing for other sports, and especially trans women who are sort of ruining the sport for women in my opinion. Like, not only that, but it's this crazy. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? I think a trans woman is when a man goes and transitions into a woman, right?
Well, I think it's actually the other way around. Or wait, no, a trans woman is where a person born as a male transitions into being a female.
Perfect. That's exactly. Those are the people that I currently want to target. Not that I want to target them because I'm against them. You can be whatever the fuck you want. I want to discuss it. I want to see where the issues could lie. Now, let's just take a very common theme. Men are stronger than women on average, all right? And the main reason for that is that because they have more testosterone. Testosterone enables you to grow more muscle. Plain and simple. There is no argument behind that. All right? Would you disagree, Jed?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so now, and not only that, but like men in general have wider chests. They are bigger. I can't say that they're bigger boned, but they have bigger frames in general. And I think bone density, men have a greater bone density than women. But there are distinct differences between men and women. Like they're like the way you're born from biology, that's how it is. And I've just been watching a bunch of people who have done this, like transitioned women who go into the sport and they crush. Like they competed in their category for the men, but then they were average. They were doing all right. But then they come into the women's side and they absolutely dominate. They absolutely dominate, dude. And it's not even fair. It's gonna get to the point where females will not even be seen in competition.
Well, I don't know that it's going to get to that point. I do think that it's a very difficult kind of situation because if you determine athletic eligibility, like either playing for the men's or the women's team, if you determine that eligibility based on a person's gender at birth, it causes big problems for women's athletics because you can have a person who is taking hormones that give them a competitive advantage over everyone else. Right?
Okay.
And then if you determine it based on what their chosen gender identity, then that causes big problems also because you have someone who's just bigger, faster, and stronger because they were born as a male coming in and competing. Right?
And then maybe the next step is like, hey, do not take, and if you want to be a professional athlete, do not take any hormone enhancers.
And it causes big administration problems because how can you really determine if someone's genuinely transitioning into a different gender,
correct,
or if they're just simply trying to get a competitive advantage?
That's what it is, and that's the thing. Like, so many people are doing it. In my opinion, there was one guy who was a comedian. He went and he was a average lifter. He was, whatever you want to call it. He said that he was a transitioning woman. He didn't change anything about himself. He literally just said that. Because Europe is much more progressive and left-leaning than any other part of the world, But yeah, he did that, and then he transitioned back. And he still holds the record. Like, how insane is that?
No, I agree. I mean, I think one thing that you could potentially think about doing is just having any person who is transitioning or has transitioned, you could just have them compete with the men's teams, because if it's a trans man, then they're taking those hormones that are going to diminish the competitive advantage that the men have over that person.
Yeah.
Or if it's a person transitioning into being a female, I mean, they were still born with that big frame and that size and strength. And even though it might be diminishing, I mean, they can still compete. The only real problem with that is it involves telling typically a teenager that their chosen gender identity is not legitimate and isn't going to be recognized, which seems like a pretty harsh thing to do to a young person.
I don't know, dude. I have an issue even with that. Like, I don't think that before the age of 18, you should be making a decision saying that, hey, I feel a certain way, and start putting in a bunch of hormones. Because there's been a bunch of cases where, like, kids do that, they don't feel comfortable anymore, and they end up, like, committing suicide. Like, that is because you're not letting your body go through the natural trend of what it's supposed to do. Whether you believe that you're supposed to be one way or another, I don't think you should be putting in hormone blockers before the age of 18. Like, you're not even a full adult. You're not even a developed human being by that point. Even later. I don't know what the age is when you're a fully developed human, but it definitely ain't when you're a teenager, you know?
Well, I mean, we do let teenagers make other kinds of incredibly important decisions for themselves. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think there is a point where you are too young. I don't know exactly what that point is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a little bothered when I see, like, some of these extremely young children, like, if you're under the age of 10, like, that's kind of problematic to me.
Like where do you stop that? Where do you put a stopping point? Like, 10-year-olds taking hormone enhancers or, like, changing your hormones altogether? That's dangerous. I don't see anything good coming out of that.
Yeah.
And you could, like, a lot of people, like, the left tries to put down gender dysphoria. You know, you could be going through that. Or sexual preference dysphoria. Second episode where I talked about, like, you know, could I be gay? Could that be a thing? And then I thought about it, like, no, there's just, no way. Like, that thought comes through your head. It comes into a lot of people. They don't admit it, especially men don't admit it because it's embarrassing, you know? Or maybe they never come through it, and maybe it never pops in their head. Maybe they're just nuts and then you just never think about it whatsoever. Think a little bit. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be a true possibility.
Well, I mean, one thing I've got to say is that I really don't know enough about the issue. I don't, as far as I know anyone who's transitioning or thinking about transitioning. So I don't really know enough about it. I haven't studied the issue at all. One thing I will say is that I think in relation to just the athletic issue, I don't think it's a huge issue right now, and probably won't be for at least a while, because number one, people who are transitioning or thinking about it, they make up a relatively small portion of the population. Like, it's not a huge portion of the population that's dealing with this. Also,
it's just, but comparative, like you just said, like, it's a relatively small population that is this way, you know. But on the other hand, when it comes to this specific topic of trans women and invading women's sports, like, comparative to how small their population is and how problematic it's become within the sports world, like, that percentage is higher than you would think, dude. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Well. And, I mean, I also think that even among people who are transitioning, like, most of them are going to do that after high school when their athletic careers are over, right? Like, because a lot of people, number one, either don't want their parents to know about it or they don't have the means to do it.
See, I disagree. That's the thing. It's starting to invade into teens, too. The stories that I'm talking about are 3 high school students that were doing this. They were average in the men's. One was track related, but, like, that's the thing. One of them was track, and, like, on average, men beat women. Like if you take one school's track team, on average, the men beat the women. You know what I'm saying? So it's already a disadvantage now for all the women for a male athlete to come and dominate. So I'll give you another example. All right, let's take, for example, Serena Williams, right? Serena Williams, like, she is the best women's tennis player ever. Right. Agreed or disagreed?
Probably agreed. I'm not a huge tennis player.
So there was a match that happened between the Williams sisters, and they took on, like, I can't remember what rank it was, but it was in, like, the 3-digit rankings. Like, they either the 2-digit or 3-digit rankings. Like, it was way under. Like, they were competing against, like, the 100th best tennis player in the world, and some other number. But they didn't even win a single set. Out of the 5, they did not win a single set. Wait, is it best 2 out of 3? Anyways, they didn't. They barely. I don't even think they really scored, but. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not trying to bash on women. Women have other qualities that are, like, much better than of men, but when it comes to, like, physical strength, they're not close. You know what I'm saying? It's like but I'll give you this, like, on average, like, this is another funny statistics. On average, women swim faster than men. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so yeah, swimmers, like women dominate in swimming. They beat men. They beat most men because they are on average lighter, and they actually women have like more fat around the hip, and what that causes is it causes their body to kind of like go kind of straight when they're swimming, and instead of being like at an angle, so it's like creating less drag. Does that kind of make sense? Because men don't have as much fat around their waist, so their body on the bottom side dips, so it creates just more like surface resistance as you're going along the water. But yeah, dude, there's just there are biological differences that you cannot deny, plain and simple.
Yeah, like the women's national soccer team, the U.S. women's national soccer team, which dominates the world, like has won the World Cup however many times in a row.
Yeah.
They got crushed by a high school Dallas team made up of 15-year-old boys. Like
exactly my point. That's insane. Like,
I mean, and it's not, in my opinion at least, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a guy, but I don't think it's sexist to say that there are differences like that. And it's observable.
It's not sexist. It's just a fact.
It's just factual.
Yeah, it's just factual information. It's like both of us are not sitting here trying to bash women. You know, like, I love women. Like, I personally think, like, my mother, she is, when it comes to, like, keeping your household straight, she is way stronger than my dad. Like, my mother comes home, she cooks, she cleans, then she goes and she also does a job. On top of that, she's trying to keep the house together. Like, from a political, like, there's a very political atmosphere when you come to, like, brown families. And I think that on average, women have a much stronger tolerance for pain. They can take a lot more political bullshit within the family. They have their heads are straighter than men when it comes to their mental psyche. I don't know. They're happier. They can keep themselves happier. They don't get as depressed. I don't know. There's a lot of other shit, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I value women more than anything you can think. But when it comes to this certain topic, I just don't understand how people don't see the facts, and they don't like. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're making some sense, you know?
I got you.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little riled from that. It's
okay, man.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, man. So how's everything going though? How's life? I miss you.
Life's good. Busy, but it's good.
Are you excited to finally be done with fucking school? How much debt have you incurred, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. A lot. It'll be a long time paying it off.
It's all good.
Hopefully
man.
not too long. Hopefully I'll be successful.
Yeah, I know you will for sure. We're gonna rip this United States of America a new one. All right, the brown and the white boy.
You with your real estate agency and real estate law.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be I'm very excited. I don't know. It's going to be weird. I don't know all the things that I'm going to be doing, but it's an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be alive. There's a lot of different shit that I can do, and I like to have the freedom to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, Jed, one other thing that I kind of wanted to... Like, what are we hitting right now? Holy shit, we're at 2 hours. Okay, so one last topic that I kind of wanted to talk about, and you kind of made me think about it, was you asked me a question about, remember when we had this discussion about eating meat and how, you know, like if I had to do the obligation to hunt and eat meat, and back in the day I was like, no, I wouldn't do it. I don't see the point in doing it. And it just was like one of those things where it kind of hit me. I was like, you know, he has a point. Like, good Lord, what is it all this, like, you know, it's like I've started looking at the facts. Like, human beings have been eating meat for a much longer time. That's much more natural than it is not to eat meat, you know?
Right.
And it all comes down from like the aspect of like hunting and going out. But again, I still stand by my statement of saying that factory farming is the worst thing you can possibly do. And not only that, but I still stand by the fact that factory farming, factory farming could also be for vegetables and plants, and that shit's wrong too. That's also ruining the earth in any form or fact. Like, you're not supposed to have massive amounts of just one thing existing in one piece of land. You know what I'm saying? Like on a concentrated piece of land. That's not how.
I thought you liked markets, Karn. That's what the market dictates. That's capitalism.
I know, and that in a sense that sort of. Personally, I've started to learn to hunt, and I'm starting to go out. Like, I've hunted before in India, but I've never done it here, like with game and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where, like, I think that if you're gonna eat meat, then at least recognize, like, if literally, if you went to a restaurant and you were like, hey, I want chicken, yada yada yada, and you saw the chicken that's gonna be going off, and you're gonna see its life go away. You would think really, really hard before doing it, you know?
I don't know. I like me some chicken, Kong.
But would you, no. Like, you in general, but I'm just talking about, just think about the general populace, though. Do you think that people would eat meat as much if they saw the animal that was going to be sacrificed for your meal?
No.
You would, I think a lot of people would back out. I personally do think that. And I'll tell you what, I think there's a certain respect that occurs when you see the meat with its own eyes. You see it in his eyes, you respect it. And if you do feel sad, that's a natural feeling. That's needed. And I think that's a part of life, dude. I genuinely believe that.
I mean, I agree with you to a point, but, I grew up on, an actual cattle ranch in West Texas.
Yeah.
And when I was a little kid, we still had cows.
Yeah.
And I personally never thought twice about eating a steak or eating a burger or anything like that. And it wasn't because I hate cows or anything. When I was a little boy, I loved the cows. I loved calling them up and make sure they had food and water and stuff.
Yeah. See, but that's the thing. But I wouldn't call you. But would you ever witness the killing? Like within the Sikh faith, you can eat meat, but you just have to witness the killing, or you have to do it yourself. And I think there's a certain respect to that.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
You're honoring its life by being there, by being present. Does that kind of make sense?
I mean, I guess somebody's going to be present at the death, presumably, unless it's automated.
But that's the point. But you don't know this dude. You don't know what the hell is going on. You know what I'm saying? It could be some rando jack across the street doing it. He doesn't give a shit. That's his job. There's no way that he respects it as much as you do. Or
I don't know. I just feel like if we want to do things for the betterment of the environment or for the betterment of animal life in the world, and we should do things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot bigger fish to fry. We have endangered species all over the place.
Yeah.
And we need to take care of the oceans and all that kind of stuff. And that's a much bigger priority. Because, and this is something you and I have that one vegetarian friend, and we've gone 12 rounds over this issue. A lot of these animals that are dying, they wouldn't have lived but for to provide that meat. That's the purpose for their life. And
see, I don't necessarily agree what purpose of life if someone's supposed to be. We've gone through this a little bit, but I don't know if we can determine the purpose of the life of the animal.
Well, that's why it was bred. That's why it was brought into the world, was for the purposes. It's for an economic purpose.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I do see an issue with that. Okay, when it comes to that's where factory farming mentality starts, in my opinion. But that's the thing. A lot of people, a lot of these vegans or vegetarians, don't attack the factory farmers. They actually attack the hunters. Whereas, when you go out and hunt and you're paying a bunch of taxes and you're paying for your tags, that's actually helping preserve the nature.
Yeah.
You can, because there does come a point where deer, there's so many deer, they start eating a lot of the vegetation around everywhere, maybe around certain farms or whatever it may be, and then they're outnumbered. That's why sometimes there's higher wolf populations, and there's that it all has a balance in it. And I think that humans are supposed to be a part of that balance.
Right.
Not saying that okay, it is also, you're right. At some point, not everybody can be a hunter. Not everybody could do it. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, I just don't see how hunters are the issue here. I don't see that. It's not we're living in the 1700s where, yes, like, you know, the American bison and a lot of those animals were going extinct because they were a business.
Yeah.
You know, they were used for leather and they were used for their fur and all that other crap, but...
Yeah, we have viewed, like, humans have viewed animals as, like, economic things.
Exactly.
For centuries.
That's what I'm saying, and that's an issue.
So it's nothing new. It's nothing necessarily about factory farming or, you know, anything like that. That's just the way
they've just seen it as a resource. They've seen it as a resource.
And it is a resource. I mean, everything and everyone is a resource. Humans are a resource.
Oh, God, that is... Oh, God. Oh, God, what? I mean, you're kind of... You have a point, yes. I can see how that is the case. I don't like to be viewed as a resource. All right?
No, you're a resource, man. I mean, that's the way your employer views you. That's the way, like, you know, everyone views everyone.
God,
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
That's a terrible... Well, I mean, if you're a useful resource, then sure. But if you ever try to fight or you don't agree with certain things, then you're a bad fucking resource, mate. Get the fuck out.
Because I think one of the things that thinking in those terms does is it attaches value to every person, because every person has value. Like, every single person in the world has something that they can contribute.
Yeah.
Like, and when you don't look at people that way, you might just think, why do I care about this person? Why do I care about this homeless person who, they're not offering anything to me. Like, what's their value in life? Like, they're just this other person.
Yeah,
if you look at them as somebody who could potentially get a job and contribute something, like, I mean, it helps humanize.
Oh, okay. So you look at it as like a potential resource, and always a positive one.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I mean,
see, like, because I thought you were going down the rabbit hole. Like, what is he trying to say? That if you're not valuable, then you're disposable?
No.
Because that's the problem that I see is, like, if you do put a value and some people have higher values or lower values, then some become disposable and some become indisposable. But if you have the ideology like no one is disposable, then I can back you up on that.
Yeah, no. I mean, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but, like, I'm very anti, like, death penalty and stuff. And stuff like that.
You just wanted to bring that in just so I could say that I am pro death penalty, you little cunt.
Well, like, and the only reason I bring it up is because one of the reasons I believe that is because every life has value, regardless of what you've done or who you are. Like, every life has value.
There are, I don't know, like, yes, we could, we'll go very brief on that, okay? And I think this might be a good ending discussion on this, but
yeah.
God, it's probably the most surprised I've ever been on my own goddamn podcast, all right? But yes, the reason why I am pro death penalty is because there are some actions that are deemable as there are certain actions on this earth that are just that are the only way that you can get justice is the end of that life, and I do believe that. And I'm sorry, like, whoever doesn't feel that way, if I hurt anybody by saying that, but it's the truth. Like, for me, it comes down to this, like, and it comes to extreme situations. I'm not saying that every fucking person deserves a death penalty. Like, if you're in the court of hand and like, I don't trust that. First of all, if there is business to take care of, I'll take care of it myself. Like, that's just how I was raised. That's just who I am. But it comes to like this, like, let's say a little girl is raped, like, these pedophiles and all that stuff. I do believe that they deserve to go to death. Not by electrocution or anything, like the fastest way of death possible. I think that you can still show compassion through death, alright? I do believe that. There are compassionate ways of killing. Not the Florida way of fucking putting someone to the electrical chair, but there are certain ways to go out. But it's just, there are actions on this earth that, whether it be through the government's hands that they do it, or the person-to-person I would take care of it myself, for sure, and then go to court, and then if I have to go to jail, that's fine. Like, I'm much more okay with that, Well,
and then would you deserve the death penalty because you took a life?
Depends. See, that's the judge's job to judge, like, hey, did I kill the right person or not? Like, do you think that, do I deserve to be in jail for whatever allocated time? I'll take that. Even if my punishment is the death penalty at that point, I'll accept it. Like, I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, but for me, like, people are not supposed to pass those kinds of judgments on other people. Like, if somebody's life is supposed to come to an end, I believe that God's going to take care of that, and it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. But I'm also a believer that God has many ways of working its deeds, and He could be using you, like you yourself.
I don't know. And the other thing about it that is really, like, I don't understand how anyone could support the death penalty, because we know for an absolute fact that we have executed hundreds of innocent people.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That I am. You're right. Yes. That's where the fucked up other side of the equation messes up. Is that the justice system does not do its due process, and it convicts the wrong people, and it gets them on the chair, or whatever other method there is. But yes, there is that side to it, and that's why I don't know, dude. It's hard, but like when it comes to certain things, like I do believe that to keep the human population in check, you got to have something extreme to balance it out.
Well, I think removing someone from society for their entire life by putting them for life in prison, like, that's pretty extreme to remove them from society for their entire life. Like, I mean.
Oh, so you believe that that's punishment enough?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean,
at
that point,
that's weird.
At that point, they're not going to do anything worse than what they've already done, and killing them is not going to undo what they did.
But they also go ahead and then they, like, I don't know. You're right. Like, it does destroy the psychology of most people inside of, like, their brains go nuts. Men start fucking other men. You start going gay. Like, there's a bunch of other crap that happens in jail. But at that point, I don't know, dude. Like, what? And that's another, like, okay, that might lead to another topic. But okay, that's just a basic difference. I just don't think that that's enough of a punishment. But you're right. It is a big punishment. It's worth it. But if you have nothing to hold you back, like let's say a sex pedophile dude just walking around who's just raping and bringing up a bunch of children, like I don't see that him ever stopping his ways. Not only that, but I think that he'll find. I mean, in jail, like sex traffickers and sex pedophiles are already killed the moment they walk into that prison. So, like, if anybody ever finds out.
Yeah.
Which is yeah, like bad things happen to pedophiles in fucking jail. But it's just one of those things that if that death's not at your door, sometimes you just don't fear it, and then you could be spreading and you're still doing your business as it could be happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could still conduct your business from jail via other people, so that person never stops regardless.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, at that point, it's not I mean, that's a failing of the system itself, like, and that's something that theoretically is correctable. Like, you can stop them from having that outside contact if they're...
I don't think you can, not through legal means, because you still are allowed to have your 1 hour or whatever, because you can't take that away.
Well, I mean, there are things you can do. You can limit the people who are on their call list, people who are on their visitation list.
I mean, like, let's take, for example, the lawyer. Let's say if the lawyer himself is colluded with this nonsense and there's no evidence of it, and you have to give them private time with the lawyer, you know what I'm saying? Right. You can't record that. But that's a loophole. That's never going away. So in my opinion, when it comes to, like, the death penalty, it's like, yeah, there you go. That loophole never exists now. And that's a fundamental, I feel like this is just a fundamental difference between me and you, Jed. Like, this, it's one of those things where, yes, it's just such an inhumane act that, shouldn't exist, but it's been going on for time. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the fundamental questions that I think you and I answer very differently is, should vengeance be part of the equation? Like, and I think for for you, the answer would probably be yes. For me, the answer is no. For me, what we should be doing with our criminal justice system is preventing future harms and, like, making sure that the future harms aren't going to happen. Because killing somebody or locking them up or whatever other punishment we want to have is, in most instances, not going to undo what happened. Yeah. So the only thing you can do is the forward-looking.
Yeah. No, you're.
And so I think that, that's the fundamental difference.
You're right. I think. Your suggestion is much more mature, and I recognize that for sure. I am not disagreeing with that in any sense. It's just that for me, sometimes the most mature answer could not be the right answer for me. Like, let's say someone fucks with my family. Like, let's say someone comes out and they kill my family, or, like, something happened, they were raped or whatever. Yeah. I'm not gonna, like, the police are gonna come, obviously, because of my parents, but I'm not gonna expect them to take care of it. I'm gonna do what I need to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you set a statement saying that you don't fuck with you don't fuck with certain things, and you definitely don't fuck with my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, I just believe that's inherent to human beings. That's just inherent to clans, to groups of people. It's inherent with love. Like, and it's not that I'm gonna go out and torture this dude. I'm just gonna go and do, like, and you're right. Like, you are much more about forgiveness and moving forward. Like, you're forward, like you said, forward thinking. For me, it's like this. There's certain things that have been done wrong by me, and there's gonna be, like, I'm not gonna go out and just, like, try to kill. I'm gonna sit down and talk. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna sit down and talk, whatever. But, like, find out if this is the actual dude. If there's no evidence of who did it, then that's much harder for me, And then I'm probably gonna have to play by the justice system in order to do that. But if I know who did it, and then if I have a feeling that he's gonna get away with it through the justice system, no, I'm sorry, you're done, dude. Like, it's just one of those things. I just don't. There are certain things that the justice system does not do justice by me. And that's the thing. Justice is defined differently from group to group.
No, I agree.
That's just how it is. And it's like, and if I have to go to jail because this justice system does not deem me as innocent, then so be it. That's just the way of the world, man. Like, I'm like, I accept my punishment by due process of whatever I committed or whatever I did. Like, I'm willing to accept the consequences of my actions. It's not like I'm saying that the government is wrong and I should be able to get away with it. No, like, I'm still within those confines,
Right.
But yeah, dude. God, that was intense. Oh my goodness. Fucking hell. But anyways, Jedediah, thank you so much for doing this. I know that we definitely did not get through all the stuff that we wanted to talk about. We'll definitely leave that for next time, and I think that I would like to do it in person. I'll try to bring over my gear to Texas. Yeah, man. Definitely want to get your knowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're definitely gonna do this again. Yeah, man. So, thank you for listening in. Thank you. I know this was a longer episode, and I just love talking about random crap. Things lead on, and thank you to my viewers. Gang, gang.